Be still and know. Be still and know. Be still and know you are one. Hello again. This is Isoke here, coming to talk some more about assimilation. I do want to address the downside. We could say the downside of assimilation, because there for sure is a downside. And this will be something that most of you understand, if not intellectually, in your bones, you know it to be true. That, and let's, for the moment, focus on racial assimilation. Me, as a young Black person, assimilating to white culture, white middle class culture, white Catholicism. Like, there are a lot of subgroups in there. The biggest danger is that we will take in not only the positive aspects of a culture, but we will also take in the negative, harmful effects. And when, let me just use some language here that might be new to some of you. And that language is target, non-target. So when we're talking about unlearning oppression, it's a helpful category of experience to talk about, that people who are darker hued are targets of a system that prefers and preferences whiteness. So, and there's a lot of misinformation that usually goes with that, that split, that separation, that creation of who's on top and who's on bottom. That's basically the target issue. So if it's sexism, very, very generally, we're talking about men being non-target and women being target. We're talking about immigration. We're talking about, people who are not USers, particularly if they're of color, are on the downside of power relative to those of us who are USers by birth or whatever. Anyway, there are many categories like that. So already, by the time I'm 11 and I'm in this boarding school, I already know what the negative attitudes and beliefs are in the broader culture about Black people. Because at home, we had been told, be a credit to your race when you're out there. Do not be out there making, doing shameful things, because it reflects on us, and they are always looking for reasons to justify mistreatment, our mistreatment. So you need to be on your P's and Q's when you're out there. Similarly, whenever a Black person of notoriety won, like Joe Louis or, Willie Mays, whoever, all the Black people who did well brought a breath of relief, of pride, because it was we all knew that it was so hard to get in and to succeed. So I went to the boarding school knowing these things. So whenever something happened at the boarding school that privileged white ways of thinking and doing things happened, part of me knew that when that was a problem, and part of me didn't know, partly because humans don't really want to go through the world with their high alert on about race or any of the other isms. We want to live. We want to commune with others. We want to feel free. And so having to always look out for where the oppression is, where the misinformation is a heavy burden. So, but let me get back to this thing about a parallel concept for assimilation is internalized oppression. That is, if you're inundated with messages about your people that say, oh, for example, they don't do this anymore so much, thank God. But when I was growing up, National Geographic, all those kinds of organizations showed images of us as savages, as primitive, bones in our noses and naked and, dancing around, in the dust and, just, it felt like those organizations went out of their way to paint a picture of us as pathetic or dangerous or lazy or of no value. So that when you hang out with people who are being given that message or messages like that, you are vulnerable. So I was vulnerable. I'll use an I statement here. I was vulnerable to taking in the negative impressions about Black people from well-meaning white folks. I need to hasten to say that this is not about Ku Klux Klan or people who are deliberately and maliciously cruel to Black folks. This was just run of the mill. I can remember, for example, I was a smoker at a young age, and I can remember we would sit around smoking by the pool, and one white girl or another would say something like, I'll give you a drag off my cigarette, but don't nigger lip it. Those kinds of insults were happening. And so to get back to, like, why would my cousins be concerned about me becoming white or whiteified? Partly because they knew that there was a danger or a risk that I would internalize attitudes and beliefs about myself and about them from the others, from the white gaze that was always watching to see, are you smart? Are you dirty? Are you violent? Are you, all these things. So yeah, there was a true risk that I would come home someday and be unable to fit into my own family because I had learned all this negative stuff about my people. So that's really, really an important consideration. And Christopher asked me, well, what did you do? How did you survive it? How did you navigate it? What did you do? And I will say that I didn't probably do as much as some would have, but there's a story about me preparing for a recital where I was going to be singing Summertime, which is a lullaby that's in George Gershwin play, musical. Though George Gershwin was not white, it was a Black cast and a story rooted in Blackness. And so this Summertime is a lullaby where a woman is singing to a baby. And the sisters gave me a baby doll to hold on stage for that song. And the baby doll was white. And I don't know, I think I was about 15, somewhere around there. And I said, I can't hold this baby. I'm not holding this baby. This is like, that makes me a mammy. I remember thinking that and feeling that. And they went, I can't remember which one of the sisters, took the doll and found some brown shoe polish and turned it to a brown baby and asked me, can you hold it now? And I'm like, yeah. So yeah, we do the best we can to hang on to home, to hang on to dignity, to remind other people that when they're being careless about our feelings or about, our value. So yeah, I did that. And there's more. I'll come back with one more about assimilation. Thank you for listening. Be still and know that peace is here. Be still and know peace is here. Be still and know, be Be still and know. Be still and know you are